She hasn't touched her food in days. She sits in the corner of the enclosure, rocking gently, empty arms curled as if still cradling life. Zookeepers call her Kira, but today no one dares speak her name aloud. The troop keeps its distance. Even the dominant male watches her with careful eyes. This silverback mother has lost her infant, and something in her has changed. The zoo has handled gorilla births before, stillbirths too, but never like this. Kira had been nearing full term when something went wrong, an overnight miscarriage. The fetus was discovered in the nesting straw, lifeless and small. Kira hadn't allowed the keepers to remove it for hours. She screamed when they tried. Then she went silent. That was 4 days ago. Now she won't eat, won't interact, won't respond. She walks in slow, haunting circles. Sometimes she makes a sound, low, broken, somewhere between a moan and a sigh. At night, keepers hear it echo off the enclosure walls. During the day, she finds scraps of fabric or straw and cradles them, as if pretending, as if remembering. Zookeeper Melanie has worked with primates for 12 years. "This is grief," she says to a camera mounted just outside the observation window. "Pure grief. I've never seen it this deep before." The footage catches Kira reaching for a crumpled blanket. She rocks it slowly, gazing at nothing. Meanwhile, at the far end of the enclosure, another female gorilla named Amara is preparing her nest. Her stomach is round, her movements careful and slow. She's due to give birth any day now. Her presence, once comforting to the troop, has become a source of silent tension. Kira notices. She stares at Amara for long stretches of time, doesn't blink, doesn't move, just watches. At first, Amara paid her no mind, but now she shifts uncomfortably when their eyes meet. Other gorillas sense it too. There's a ripple of unease in the troop. The staff logs everything. Kira won't eat, but she follows Amara now, silently, at a distance. She mimics her nesting habits, sometimes building structures beside her own. When Amara stands, so does Kira. When she rests, Kira crouches nearby, always a few paces away, always watching. One morning, Kira approaches Amara's nest and gently places a small piece of cloth near it. A token, an offering, maybe a request. The zookeepers begin to debate. Is this maternal instinct, a sign she's ready to heal, or something else entirely? That night, Kira curls into a corner of the enclosure wall, eyes fixed on Amara's sleeping form. The camera blinks silently above her, capturing the soft shift of straw, the subtle rise and fall of breath. She wraps her arms around the blanket again. She doesn't close her eyes. It starts with a stare, then a step. And soon Kira is no longer just watching Amara. She's following her. At first, the zookeepers log it as a behavioral shift, a sign she may be coming out of her grief. But within days, it becomes clear. Kira's fixation on the pregnant gorilla is growing stronger. She no longer mimics nesting beside Amara. She builds on top of her materials, drags her own bedding across Amara's space, and curls up beside her as if claiming the unborn infant herself. Amara, once calm and maternal, now shows signs of distress. She moves slower, casts wary glances over her shoulder, shifts her position each time Kira draws near. When Kira reaches for her nest, Amara lets out a warning grunt. The other females scatter. Only Kira remains. The dominant male, Django, begins pacing more often. He watches the two females closely, occasionally stepping between them. Once, when Kira reaches too close, he lets out a powerful chest beat that echoes through the enclosure. Kira doesn't flinch. She lowers her head, submits, but doesn't retreat. "She's not aggressive," Melanie murmurs during a staff briefing, "but this isn't just grief anymore. It's possessive, and she's targeting Amara." Security footage shows Kira intercepting zookeepers during feeding times. She stands between them and Amara, blocking access with her massive frame. They try distraction techniques, tossing food far from the nest, but Kira returns the moment she senses movement near the pregnant female. One keeper compares her to a shadow that won't leave. Overnight footage reveals something even more disturbing. Kira doesn't sleep. While the troop dozes, she paces near Amara's den, placing straw in repeating patterns, occasionally grooming the empty space beside her. Once, just before dawn, she gently places a leafy branch against Amara's side, a maternal gesture, or a warning. When Amara shifts and winces, possibly from a contraction, Kira immediately stirs. She moves closer than ever before, her breathing heavy, her arms trembling slightly, as if preparing to receive something. Staff decides it's time to intervene. They attempt to separate the two gorillas during routine feeding. The gate closes behind Amara, gently, without alarm, but Kira lets out a sharp bark, a rare vocalization from her since the miscarriage. She slams her fists into the wall, roars once, then retreats to the shared barrier. There she waits, eyes locked on the partition, silent, unmoving. She thinks the baby is hers, one keeper whispers. Kira begins hoarding soft items again, blankets, straw, cloths. She carries them for hours, rocking them, presenting them to the wall that separates her from Amara. When they go ignored, she lays them carefully along the barrier, one after another, like offerings at a shrine. Amara's breathing grows heavier with each passing hour. The team preps the birthing den, adding fresh straw, cameras, and emergency sedation tools, just in case. But the real danger, they know, is not childbirth itself. It's Kira. Because something primal is building behind her quiet, mournful eyes. Something that won't let go. A storm breaks just before dawn. Lightning splits the sky as heavy rain pelts the enclosure roof. Inside, the troop stirs restlessly, but Kira remains still, pressed against the gate that separates her from Amara. Her breath fogs the steel. Her eyes never blink. Amara's labor has begun. The zookeepers spot the signs in the early morning footage: nesting behavior intensified, small groans, rhythmic shifting in the straw. Her water breaks shortly after 5 a.m. Security alerts go out. The team scrambles. Birth kits, sedatives, emergency access codes. Every second counts. But Kira already knows. She stands, slow, deliberate. Her eyes flare wide, nostrils twitching as if she can smell it, the shift in hormones, the promise of life. She lets out a low, guttural sound, not a threat, a call. She begins to pace. Melanie arrives first, rushing into the observation booth, eyes scanning the monitors. Kira's pacing grows erratic. She circles the outer fence again and again, then she stops and begins pounding the reinforced door. Boom, boom, boom. She's trying to get in, a keeper whispers. They reinforce the locks and reposition tranquilizer gear, but no one moves on her yet. One wrong dose could agitate the troop. One loud sound could stress Amara. The team agrees. Observe, not engage. Inside the birthing den, Amara groans louder. The baby's coming fast. Kira drops to all fours and presses her ear to the wall, listening. A moment later, she begins mimicking the sounds, soft, aching vocalizations that mirror Amara's. She scratches at the door. She lays a piece of blanket at its base. Then she stares. Hours pass. The team rotates in shifts, eyes glued to monitors. At 9:13 a.m., a tiny, dark arm emerges. Amara is mid-labor, heaving, straining, surrounded by silence except for the storm and the growing tension outside the den. Then, the breach. Kira finds it. A rear gate had been secured incorrectly during a late-night cleaning. The latch didn't lock. No one noticed until now. A motion sensor flickers. Melanie's eyes go wide. She's in. The team sprints down the hallway. Emergency lights flash. Radios crackle. But they're too late. Kira has entered the birthing chamber. Everyone freezes at the monitor. She stands silently over Amara, who lies in the straw, panting. A tiny infant gorilla lies between her legs, slick and motionless, umbilical cord still trailing. Amara is too weak to move. Her chest rises and falls like thunder. Kira doesn't lunge. She kneels. With enormous hands, she reaches down and gently scoops the infant into her arms. The room watching goes silent. "No," one keeper whispers. "Please don't." But Kira doesn't run. She doesn't cradle the baby like her own. Instead, she begins licking it, cleaning it, stimulating breath. The baby stirs. Amara lifts her head weakly. Kira moves closer and nudges the infant forward, placing it by the mother's chest. Then, slowly, she lays beside them, curling herself protectively around both mother and child. Cameras roll. Radios stay quiet. No one dares move. The infant lets out its first cry. It's faint, wet, and shaky, but unmistakable. The sound echoes through the birthing den like a miracle. Amara lifts her head, nostrils flaring. Her arms twitch, weakly reaching forward. The newborn wriggles against the straw, still damp and trembling. And beside them, Kira doesn't move. She lies half-curled around the baby, her giant hand resting gently over its back. Her breathing is slow, steady. Her dark eyes blink slowly, tracking every movement of the newborn as if memorizing it. The zookeepers don't breathe. In the control room, no one blinks. Melanie presses one hand to her mouth, the other hovering over the intercom switch, but she doesn't speak. They know. Any sudden sound could shatter this fragile calm. On the screen, Amara tries again to lift her upper body. Her arms shake, her energy spent from the brutal labor. The baby inches toward her, guided, no, nudged, by Kira's palm. The grieving silverback is giving the baby back. Gasps fill the observation room. The infant finds its mother's chest and latches. Amara's eyes close. Her chest rises in a slow, heavy breath. Kira doesn't move away. Instead, she lays beside them both, lowering her head into the straw like a sentry guarding something sacred. "She's helping," one of the keepers whispers, voice cracking. They review the footage. Kira's movements were precise, purposeful. She knew the baby needed stimulation. She mimicked what she had once seen from her own mother before her loss. This wasn't possession. It was protection, not obsession, devotion. The camera captures a single, astonishing moment. Amara, her body trembling, extends her fingers toward Kira's hand and rests them gently on top. A silent truce, a gesture of trust. Melanie's voice breaks the silence over the radio. No one moves, no one interferes. For the next hour, the three gorillas remain huddled together in the straw, mother, infant, and mourner. Kira never takes her eyes off the baby, not in greed, not in grief, but in awe. Zookeepers make a decision: observe, document, but don't remove her. As long as there's no threat, and so far there isn't, her presence may be doing more good than harm. Word begins to spread behind the scenes. A grieving gorilla has just midwifed another's birth. By lunchtime, internal footage circulates through zoo leadership, then to behavioral experts. Some call it a fluke. Others call it a breakthrough. Meanwhile, Kira continues to serve. She brings leaves and moss to the nest. She brushes flies away from the infant's head. She watches the door, positioning herself between Amara and anything unfamiliar. For the first time in days, she eats, just a few bites, slowly, as she watches over them. Keepers install additional monitoring. No one leaves the perimeter. But as hours pass, their fears begin to soften. In the enclosure's quietest corner, beneath the red glow of warming lamps, a new family is forming, unexpected, unorthodox, but real. And Kira, the gorilla who lost everything, is no longer grieving alone. Days pass, then a week. The infant gorilla, now named Nia, Swahili for purpose, is thriving. She clings tightly to Amara's chest, small fingers curling into the mother's fur. But whenever Amara rests, it's Kira who takes watch, always nearby, always alert. No one expected this arrangement, no one planned it. But somehow it works. Kira never tries to take the infant for herself. She doesn't fight for dominance. Instead, she assists, grooming, guarding, even fetching leaves for nesting. Her movements are soft, careful, like a second mother who knows her place but still feels the pull of something deeper. Behavioral specialists review footage daily. Some are in disbelief. She lost her baby and found a role instead, one says. It's not adoption. It's something even rarer, post-grief reparenting. Amara doesn't resist Kira's presence anymore. In fact, she begins seeking her out. When Nia naps, the two females sit side by side. They groom each other. They share space. What began as tension has become trust. Inside the troop, things shift. The dominant male Django no longer growls when Kira approaches. The other females include her in foraging rituals again. It's as if the entire community recognizes the transformation, one built not on hierarchy but on healing. And Kira? She's different now. Her eyes are softer. She sleeps. She eats without coaxing. The pacing is gone. The rocking has stopped. But what hasn't changed is her attention to Nia. She watches the infant like a guardian angel, always near, never overstepping, never missing a moment. One afternoon, a school group visits the enclosure. Children press their hands to the glass. Their chaperone points out the gorillas by name. That one's Amara, the mom, and that big one beside her, that's Kira. She's the protector. A boy asks, "Is she the grandma?" The guide smiles. Number. She's just someone who loves the baby. The moment is captured on a visitor's phone. A screenshot goes viral that night. Two gorillas sitting with a newborn nestled between them. One mother by birth, one mother by choice. The caption reads, "She lost her baby, but not her heart." Soon, major news outlets pick up the story. Articles appear with headlines like "Grieving Gorilla Becomes Unexpected Nanny" and "Proof of Animal Empathy." Videos show Kira gently rocking Nia while Amara forages nearby. Comment sections flood with tears, prayers, and awe. Back at the zoo, Melanie keeps watch from the control room. She plays an older clip, Kira in the corner after her miscarriage, hollow-eyed and still. She plays it side by side with today's feed. Kira sitting tall, calm, gently brushing straw from Nia's back. The contrast is staggering. Kira found a reason to keep going, Melanie says quietly, and somehow it saved them all. At sunset, the troop gathers on the open grass. Nia toddles forward a few shaky steps, collapsing between the two females. Amara leans in to nuzzle her. And Kira? She places one massive arm gently around them both. She is no longer just a mourner, she is something new. What you just witnessed wasn't instinct. It wasn't dominance. It was something far more powerful, grief transformed into love. Kira lost everything, but she chose to give everything back, not through force, but through quiet presence, through healing. This story reminds us that motherhood isn't always about giving birth. Sometimes it's about showing up when someone else needs you most. Even across species, even in silence, love finds a way. What would you have done in Kira's place? Have you ever seen an animal show grief or compassion? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share, because stories like Kira's deserve to be remembered.